You don't know how it happened?
Hi, dear. How are you?
How do you, usually it takes a hit, doesn't it? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bain?
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Here.
Councilman Best?
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Here.
Councilman Petralano?
Here.
Okay, we have invocation. Please stand. Councilwoman Mitchell.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the privilege of allowing us to live in a free nation and gather here tonight to discuss our beloved Miami Springs. We ask for your wisdom, your guidance, and your blessing for those on the council, the city employees, and our residents. Amen.
Amen. Please say the pledge. Right hand over your chest. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation under
With liberty and justice for all.
Hey, that's up to you. I could just be quiet. Where are we at here now? Yard of the month? They're here? Come on up.
You taped it, I hope.
Oh, look at how cute.
This is the Yorn family? Okay. Come on up here. This is the Yorn family. 125 Navajo Street. For their home designated the Yard of the Month, September 2018. Presented this day, the 10th of September 2018. Congratulations. You have anybody take a picture? No. You don't have nobody? Get your camera, the clerk will take a picture for you. While we're waiting, what's your name?
Lisa.
What is Jorn? How do you say that? Your last name again?
J-O-O-I-N.
I know how do you say it.
Jordan.
What is that?
Jordan, it's Dutch.
Dutch. Okay, I knew it was something. But I was going to say Jordan.
No.
No. You want to say anything? You have anything to say? Got it. Dude, who does all the work? You do it together? It's a team effort? Good. That's the best way to do it.
Nice.
That's what thank you.
Congratulations.
Nice.
You go. Yeah, go finish that other part of the lawn. Okay, we have open forum here. Velasquez?
Vasquez.
Come on up. You got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, my full name, Dr. Victor Vasquez Hernandez. My wife, Myra Hernandez. We live at 2 De Leon Drive, and we've been part of the Miami Springs community for almost 8 years.
What kind of doctor?
History.
Oh, in
I'm a
history.
professor of history
Okay.
at Miami-Dade College.
Cool.
The first time I've ever been to City Council, and I'm here to speak on a subject that's everyone knows, and it's a problem. It's all of our problem. It has to do with traffic and speeding on the roads of Miami Springs. I'm a very conscientious driver. Always have been. I've had a driver's license for over 40 years. I'm also a disabled veteran, retired from the United States Air Force. We love this city. We go to all the businesses, we scout. So I'm very thankful to the Optimist Club for supporting the troop, and for Grace Lutheran for supporting the PAC. And the last couple of weeks, maybe the last couple of months, I've noticed an increasing frequency of speeding, particularly on the Curtis Parkway. Now that's a road that I use a lot to get to 36th Street, to go to the highway to get to work, and every afternoon Um, it's created by using for a lot of naive. It's referring Facebook page about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Last week, I posted about this, and about 100 people responded. About 2/3 of them made comments about the different problems regarding whether there's enough police or speed bumps. The Circle is a place that I avoid between 4 and 7 p.m. I avoid it like the plague. I live 2 blocks away from the Circle. I go to Milam's. To get to Milam when I come to work, I do not approach the Circle. I go around. When I leave Milam, it's closer for me to go right into the Circle and go to South Royal Poinciana. I avoid it. Not only because of the traffic, but because of the lack of respect of people that are coming down the Curtis Parkway who are probably mostly heading out to the bridge. I don't think it has one solution. I have a doctorate in history, but I have a master's in psychology, so I know human behavior. And I know that you are approaching this in different ways, but I think this is an issue that needs to be approached in a more comprehensive manner. And what I mean by that is you got to involve the population. You got to involve the people of Miami Springs in whatever conversations take place. I'm not here to say, fix this problem. I'm here as a member of this community to say, what can I do working with you to solve this problem? Because I have children in this community. And I think that while it may be a conduit for some folks, I think that we need to take some more serious steps to address this problem. I think it's very complex. There are probably issues involved that have to do with the county. You know, we're not an isolated community. And so, but I think that those folks that drive through our community at high speeds, at least higher than the speed that they're supposed to, there has to be a message that goes out. My sister lived here in the 80s. We came to Miami Springs. We wanted to live in Miami Springs, and we want to stay in Miami Springs. And one of the things that my family would tell me is, hey, be careful driving in Miami Springs. The cops don't play around. They'll pull you over if you speed. This is, and some of my family doesn't live in Miami Springs, so we sort of had that reputation as well. So I'm not trying to put the blame on any particular group of people, but what I'm saying is, Houston, we got a problem. And I want to, and my wife, we want to be part of whatever solution comes out of this. Some people on the Facebook posted, we need speed bumps, we need more police presence. I think that all of those are part of a solution. I don't know the regulations with regards to a road like Curtis Parkway and the putting speed bumps in place, but I have seen folks just flying down westward. Our house was a young lady crashed her car into my fence 4 years ago. She was speeding down South Royal Poinciana, coming from East Drive. Young lady, 21 years old, lived in East Hialeah. I know all this because of the police reports and everything. And I jumped out of my house to go see. First thing I thought she was hurt. She went right through my fence. Fortunately, didn't hit the house, and my daughter wasn't with the dog in the yard at the moment. What it turned out to be was that she was driving on Royal Poinciana, heading towards our direction, and she had an incident with someone at the light East Drive who didn't move fast enough when the light changed. And so she decided to go around him and throw some rocks or something at his window. They wound up racing down Royal Poinciana. You know, this is crazy. And so I just wanted to share that with you. It was actually someone on Facebook that suggested, hey, go to the city council meeting on Monday. That's why I'm here.
Good.
And I'm not sure if any of the folks who said that, I asked them, come with me. Let your work, you know, be heard. Folks have been here, some of them for 30, 40 years. So that's what I'm here. I'm a conscientious person, and I'm a civic-minded person. And I don't think this is just your problem or the police's problem. This is an issue of our community. And I think that it has to be, again, I said, a comprehensive approach, whether it's increased signage, increased presence of police, speed bumps some places. I don't care. I've been to many communities here where they got speed bumps. they work. We don't like them as drivers, but they're a reminder that there are places where you just can't drive at a higher speed than 30 miles an hour, and it shouldn't be. This is our community. So,
Thank you.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Thank
what I'm
you.
here to say.
Your wife wants to speak too?
Sir?
You signed up too?
Yes.
Come on. You have the floor.
Yes, hi. My name is Mara Hernandez, 2 De Leon Drive. I just want to add to what Victor said is that it's just not the speeding, but also traffic violations. For example, the stop sign coming from Corys Parkway, entering to the circle. That is a jungle. It's every day. I mean, it's just, and they see you just going around, and they just throw in front of you, and then they block also they pass because there's a external lane that goes around, and you can cross the light. Almost every day is blocked for someone, and someone blocks that, and also the light going out Miami Springs, that like that there's a health store there at the corner, and there's the little mall. Always, I mean, the blockage is always people trying to get, through the light, and then they end up in the middle. So I just wanted to add those two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. That concludes open forum, and we go on to I just want to say that the police department has been working really hard on this for almost 6 months, and they gave us a big report a while ago. Maybe you can request that report and go over it and see what they have come up with. Okay?
Where do we request it?
You can ask the city clerk, and she can get it for you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We have 6A, August 7, 2018 workshop meeting. Do you want to do them individually?
We do them all together.
Do it
yes.
all together?
Yeah.
6B, August 20th, 2018 workshop meeting. 6C, August 27th, 2018 regular council meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Through the chair, motion to move 6A, B, and C.
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes, we go to a public hearing. We have a resolution to go over here.
Yes, this is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, adopting a tentative budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2018, and ending September 30th, 2019, confirming date of second public hearing, providing for incorporation of recitals, and providing for an effective date. Whereas pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes, the Miami-Dade County Property Appraiser has certified the taxable value within the City of Miami Springs for the year 2018, which includes all real property within the city. And whereas on July 26, 2018, the City Council adopted Resolution Number 2018-3793, determining the proposed millage rate for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2018, and further scheduled public hearings on the millage rate as required by Section 200.065 Florida statutes. The first hearing to be held on Monday, September 10th, 2018 at 7 p.m., and the second to be held on Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 7 p.m., both at City of Miami Springs City Hall, 201 Westwood Drive, Miami Springs, Florida, 33166. And whereas the city manager has submitted to the City Council a budget for fiscal year 2018-2019, showing the estimates of revenues and expenditures, together with the character and object of expenditures and an estimate of all municipal projects pending or to be undertaken. And whereas the City Council and the City Manager have reviewed the city's proposed fiscal year 2018-19 budget, considered an estimate of the necessary expenditures contemplated for in the budget, and determined the proposed millage rate levy of 7.3575 mils to provide the necessary funds for such expenditures. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida as follows. Section 1. Recitals adopted. The above stated recitals are hereby adopted and confirmed. Section 2. Adopting tentative budget. The city's tentative budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2018 and ending September 30th, 2019 is hereby approved and adopted as said in Exhibit A, attached hereto and incorporated herein, tentative budget. Section 3, confirming date of second public hearing. The city confirms that it will hold a public hearing to finally adopt the millage rate and budget for fiscal year 2018-19 on Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at City of Miami Springs City Hall, 201 Westwood Drive, Miami Springs, Florida, 33166. Section 4, effective date, that this resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. In Exhibit A, tentative budget for fiscal year 2018-19. Under general fund, you have revenues and reserves and expenses and appropriations and reserves of $17,201,169. Under special revenue funds, revenues and reserves and expenses, appropriations and reserves, $2,103,775. Under enterprise funds, revenues and reserves and expenses, appropriations and reserves, $3,166,353. Under debt service fund, you have revenues and reserves and expenses, appropriations and reserves of $1,468,611. Totals for both revenues and reserves and expenses and appropriations and reserves are $23,939,908.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, if I may for one moment. So you have before you two items. One is the budget, which essentially is what you're working on. You sent the tentative millage back in the last meeting in July. It's a little bit of a tricky process to follow Florida statute, but essentially it's a two-step process that follows 1-2-1-2. That is, millage, a little blurb gets read right now. You essentially table that. You talk about your budget. If there's any changes to be made, you go back to the tentative millage, you approve that, and then you go back and approve this resolution.
Right.
So before you get on that, I just want to, and correct me if my numbers are wrong. So the first issue is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Miami Springs establishing and adopting a tentative millage rate, and levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of 7.3575 mils, which is 6.15% higher than the rollback rate to balance the general fund for fiscal year 2018-19. Establishing the rollback rate of 6.9043, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date. This number cannot be higher than what was passed in July, unless you go through an expensive renotice provision and delaying the budget implementation. So if that's still the case, it would be appropriate to approve, if there's any discussion on that, if there's any lowering. If not, you can just essentially table that and then move to your budget item.
Okay. So right now, do we have any other changes in the budget that anybody wants to propose for the millage rate? And that's what I'm looking for right now. Is there any other, is the budget agreed upon at the
7.3575.
7.357?
You can just table that right now, and then, because essentially, again, following Florida statutes is a little quirky.
All right, we'll
this
just,
is what happens when you
we're going to
Tallahassee-
table that. We're going to table that. Now we'll
Right.
go ahead and discuss the budget.
Exactly.
All right.
Let me just ask, may I ask something, Mayor? I know Councilman Best at the last meeting suggested that if possible, we'd try to just tweak the millage a little bit and bring it down. Would this be the,
So I think that's why we go for this layered approach, because essentially you don't know where you are until you go through your budget and decide how much of a surplus you're
We're
going to have left.
tabling this part. We're going
So
to
you table this,
and
work
then we
your
would come
budget,
back?
table your budget,
Then we'll
approve your tentative, and then approve your proposed budget. Again, it's following Florida statute, and this is what happens when the legislators meddle too much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mitchell. I appreciate that.
Well, do you have any proposal?
No, we'll table and we'll.
We did table. It is tabled. Now we're talking about the budget.
Well, it's my thought that I'd like to see some movement on a reduction of taxes here, in some minute way, shape, or form, just to show that we're paying attention to the button here, so to speak. I know this is a difficult year, but I still think it sends a message to the community that we do hold these things in high regard, and we are very conscious of taxes and how it affects the families in this town. And any movement to the south of where we are with the ceiling and the millage now is obviously to their benefit. So I'd like to see maybe go to 7.1, 3571 from 3573.
What would that be as far as the?
I'd defer to the manager for those numbers.
Well, right now it's 7.3575. You want to go to what?
My thought would be to drop it 2 to 7.3, 7.5 to 7.3. 3575 to 3573.
3573? That's,
What are we, what's it right now? 3.5?
357.
7.3575.
Councilman?
73.
the three,
2 points.
7.3573?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 points.
That's minimal.
That's,
It is minimal.
That's minimal. Well, just to give you 573,
And as a follow-up to that, what would it be at 7.0?
okay. I think you're working the wrong, you're
No.
working in the thousands.
I am.
Because right now, at 7.3575, you have a surplus of 121,276.
Right, that's the number I
If
have.
you put 7.3573, your surplus is $121,049.
Take a look at 7570 or 3570.
3, 5.
Then your surplus is still 120,707. Let me give you, if you
For us to keep the surplus at 115,000, William, what would that number be?
115,000?
Yes, sir.
$7.352.
That would leave 115. That was
That's
that
correct.
was the premise, and that would leave to bring it to the number in my mind is 110. Bottom line for the surplus, that would allow the other thing that I have in mind with your indulgence, and I guess we can discuss it, and that's the yearbook that was discussed two meetings ago, I believe.
So you're going to propose to leave it at the 115, but you want to spend the 5,000 for the yearbook.
And
that would give us a surplus of
$110,000. Yes, Mayor.
110.
That's correct.
That's what you're looking
That
at.
is my
Okay.
thought, sir. Yes.
What was it, 5,000? No, Tom, I thought you said that could be less than 5,000.
Yeah, about the director?
Yes,
No, 5,000 is what it is.
you said that?
Yeah, that's what I have in my notes. Yeah.
Reiterated.
I'd like to add something.
Sure.
You done?
That would be my thoughts with your indulgence, Council.
Okay.
Mayor and Council.
I'd like to, so Williams, what we were talking about earlier, initial cost would be 60,000? Is that what it was?
Now, you're talking about the golf carts?
Yeah.
Um,
Not the 5-year, the initial cost for
Well-
this year. It was 60, right?
You still have to look at the 5-year
understand,
cost of
but-
the lease.
Right, but I
The
mean,
fir-
this
the
year-
first the first year cost is 63,750.
All right.
But you also have to account that in 2-year intervals,
Right.
you're going to spend $30,000 more on batteries.
Okay.
So the overall cost over the 5 years is 124,000.
But I'm talking about this year now. I propose that we use 63,000 of the remaining to convert our gas fleet to back to battery. It would be an initial cost of 63. It would be, I believe it's 30,000 for rewiring.
The cart barn and $33,750 the additional cost of electric carts.
Right. And then 2 years from now, unless technology changes, we would have to replace the batteries, which would be another 30,000. So that would be 2 years from now. So I would
And
like.
30,000 2 years after that.
Right. Well, yeah. I like us to contemplate my suggestion. I think we should go back to battery. And it would only be $63,000 for this budget.
but I would like more time to learn about the batteries and the.
Right, but we're gonna vote on that today. You don't have much more time.
Well, that's the issue, is,
It's a 5-year agreement. You need 5 years? Because it's a 5-year contract.
Well, we
So if we sign the contract
if I
tonight,
may, we can, well, yeah.
Can we table it? Is that what you're asking? I apologize if that's what you mean.
well,
Yeah,
what
all
I'm
for
saying
it.
is that you're bringing this up now, which
Well,
it
it's
sounds
here.
very interesting, but
Yeah, but you're bringing it up within the budget, which in the budget plan, this information wasn't presented to us in order to get to
look
this,
into
to
it.
look into it. The fact remains is I understand your position, and your position is that you don't want gas carts. But then I understand now you're going to go ahead and in this situation of the lowering the millage rate for Councilman Best to the 115. Now, how much I see this cost about
63.
changing the cart barn. In other words, you're putting into the budget to retrofit the cart barn.
Right.
which wasn't, even if we wanted to, if we were going to go to electric carts, that was never presented until today.
Well, this is part of our agenda, so.
Yeah, I know, but it wasn't presented, it was to be voted on today about the carts.
I
Okay.
don't understand. You want to table it for next, so you can have
You
more
can't
time?
table it, if you can't table it. You're gonna have to make a decision tonight within the budget, you can't table it, unless
Well,
you wanna go
you
ahead
can-
and go.
You can set a millage now, with the reserves that are there. You still have the second meeting where you can make changes.
Okay.
So
It could be
you
reduced.
can do what Councilman Best suggests now. We'll go through the golf, issue later on, and if,
No matter how you look at it, we would have the money, if the council votes on, we would have the money to do what
The second
what
meeting, we
Councilman,
can adjust the
Councilman
millage to
Petrolano
account
do.
for
But,
that, right.
or we don't, or we can vote on the golf cart issue tonight and not have to worry about it.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I have a
But to be
question
clear,
about that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, that if we do table the budget, we're essentially having to
No,
call
we're
a
not
special
tabling
meeting.
the
I know, I
budget.
just
No.
want the council to
Yeah.
be clear, we have to call a special meeting.
No, we're not tabling.
No, we're not
it.
tabling
No,
it.
no.
May I have a question? So when we had the different departments present and the golf course presented, what was their choice?
Well, their choice is.
What we
to-
have on the
Yeah,
thing,
their
right?
choice is to go with
Right.
the gas because it's cheaper and less money to operate and to keep up. So the recommendation from golf is to keep the carts that we have. But this is an issue that it's a line.
No, I understand.
It's an issue
No, I
down the
understand.
road. What he's doing is he wants to basically hold some money in the budget to retrofit the golf course, the carts to the back to the electric. We could do that, but we can. So that means we're just going to set the millage rate at the number that was set. The millage rate of 7 point whatever.
7.352 leaves 115,000
So we got to
reserve.
agree. We got to agree on that if we want to set the millage rate. First, no, we got to agree on number one if we want to go with Bobby's suggestion to set the millage rate to that point. Plus, right? That's what we're doing right now.
Well, essentially, you're figuring out how much money do you want to leave
Exactly.
in surplus,
In reserve,
and
in
then
surplus.
backwards you adjust
Okay,
your
so we're
millage.
gonna we all agree to leave 715 in surplus? Do I have a do I need a motion?
115.
115.
115,000.
Do I need a motion for that?
No, I mean if there's consensus, what the
I want a motion.
You have a
Well,
motion to move the item, Mayor.
I'm
Second.
sorry, respectfully, the motion will be, if there's consensus on the budget, it'll be on when you actually approve the proposed budget.
Okay, so we don't have to
No,
have to
I
have
mean,
mo-
so essentially, if there aren't, if let's just say right now there are no changes to the budget whatsoever, other than this,
right,
we go back to the millage,
and set the millage.
set the millage, and come back and then approve the resolution with the budget.
Okay.
And then that's where it's
All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and I need a motion to set the millage rate.
No, I'm sorry. Unless is the conversation with the proposed budget done?
I have a question with the proposed budget. Are we saying, I just want to make sure I know where we're at. Okay, so we're
I don't remember it being like this, but
going with Councilman Best's recommendation to have our surplus of 115,000. And then Councilman Petrolanda, you're saying that out of that 115,000, you would like to use 60,000 to convert the golf carts to electric.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then we would be left with 55,000 surplus
Mm-hmm.
for the year.
115,000 less 63,750 for the first year. It leaves you a little under 50,000.
Let's be careful, Council.
And-
Let's be careful.
now what?
And
Now
then you, Councilman Best, you'd also out of that like to take out for the directory.
For the directory, which hasn't been in circulation for how many years, is it?
Okay, so then, and
I
that's
agree.
about 5,000, so now we're down to.
That's $5,000, correct?
45,000 surplus for the year.
Right.
yeah, but that's if we go ahead.
That's if we do the electric carts. too.
That's if we
Well,
do, and if we
okay,
do the book.
But if we're considering those, if those are really viable things that we're considering, and I guess they are because we're discussing them,
Mm-hmm.
then I would feel more comfortable leaving the millage at 140, so that if we tick away at these things, we still have a reasonable surplus.
I agree with you.
But what else do we want to add to this?
Well,
Maybe
it's
that's
not, it's not adding more, it's just having some kind of bounce, you know, nobody knows.
agree.
What, but it's
whatever-
incumbent upon us to leave a substantial.
Whatever money we have
portion.
left, we're going to put it on the general fund, right?
Yeah, but the point is the point she's making, and the point I agree with, is she's making the thing that that I understand Councilman's best position, your position about the situation, but I understand we have to have some kind of security.
Right.
Okay, well, if we're gonna go ahead and now, have, if something happens catastrophic or we need this extra money, we're down to $45,000.
Yeah, that's why I say I think
So-
that's dangerous.
So I don't think I don't go for that. I think that we did a good budget, and as you can see, bear the nuts, we're only at $140,000. We didn't raise the millage at all this year.
We're at 121,000.
121.
121? Okay, 121. We didn't raise the millage at all this year. We kept it exactly the same. And we got a few extra things that we're doing in it, and that's for the museum.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do the cart barn at the golf course.
Mhm.
We're doing some extra things already for this budget, and everything you do should be in my thinking is in steps. So in this particular budget, we are doing above and beyond on some of them.
Mhm.
So I would propose with Miss Mitchell, if you guys are, and I don't know if we're going to do what Jaime wants to do about the electric carts. We'll see how it's voted on. But if we do, so I would recommend what the councilwoman said and leave it at this, what the millage was set in the first place.
Or perhaps, Mayor, is,
Well, if you take it from 121, Mayor, to 115, that's not significant. It's
we're going
significant
from
relative to.
140.
It's significant
140.
relative. The vote comes down that we're going to retrofit the cart barn. Everything's
No, no, of
significant
course
when you're
everything's-
spending money, and it's the people's money.
Okay, but Councilman, it's 140. We're going from 140 to 115. So if we're at
No, we're going,
One-
we're going from
121.
121
Oh, we're going down to
115. See, which is not a lot.
Right, right.
Yep.
It's still, though, but we're still talking about an extra 5,000, and we're still talking about, and these are reasonable things that are being
Well,
suggested, so.
that's reasonable to them.
Well, what I'm saying is,
But the book, like the book for
There's-
$5,000, in my mind, the book it's
it's reasonable that it might go through.
yes,
That's
yes.
what I mean.
But we'll get to them when we get to it. But the book itself is obsolete with the computers and the different things that we have now. We have all the cell phones and the different things. As far as I'm concerned, the book is one of the things that aged out. You don't need it. It's my opinion. Maybe somebody else has another one.
I've had a lot of people in town ask me about it, Bill. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not bringing it up because I want it.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up because of what folks talk to
But
me
a
about.
lot of people I'm still saying it's $5,000.
Mayor and Council, if I could just say one thing, it's just a factor in your consideration for the budget and the millage. Just bear in mind that this year in November there is an additional homestead exemption
is,
that's
yeah.
going to be added to it.
Turn mine
That is estimated to cost the city. William, what was it?
$500,000.
$500,000.
Yep.
So that's certainly something that we're going to feel not only next year but in subsequent years. So just bear that in mind. I just wanted to.
All right, so right now, do I have a motion for a millage rate? I can ask for a motion.
If there's no further conversation on the budget, which I think there should be, you should reach some kind of consensus on these two items. And then once, I know it's a little, it's difficult, but if there's consensus on it, then essentially you go back, you table the budget and go back to the millage conversation, and then you have your motion for that.
But why can't we set the millage and then discuss the budget after the fact? I mean, or is it just something, I don't understand.
You can set the millage, but just bear in mind that then essentially you're locking in the amount of
I
money you have.
understand. I wanna
then
lock-
all you're talking about is essentially
Shifting the money
further
around
allocations within that amount of money.
Within the amount.
Right.
Correct.
Right, that's what I want, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
So,
And they still have the possibility of making changes at
for the
second
next
meeting.
meeting,
Second reading.
You could lower the millage rate further in the second meeting.
and we can discuss the budget in the second meeting.
Correct.
Correct.
But
Okay.
just remember that every step essentially is a ceiling,
Right, I got it.
unless you go through
I got it.
expensive.
Special.
All right, so I need a motion for what we are going to set the millage rate at. I can't make the motion.
No, right
You
now.
want me to pass the gavel, I'll make the motion.
No, I'm
Trying to figure out what we agreed on.
well, hold on. He's asking.
I'm asking, you got
Um,
you got
through-
two options.
We're both asking.
We got two options.
Through the chair, it is my proposal that we set the millage for fiscal 18-19 at 7.352, which represents a reduction of the surplus from 121 to 115,000.
Are them numbers correct, Mr. Alonso?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second? Well, I think the motion fails.
Correct.
All right, so I need another motion I need another motion. Or do you want me to pass the gavel and make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the budget
As written.
as written.
Is that good enough? Is that a good enough motion?
I'll go ahead and read it one more time to the record, but that's fine.
That's fine?
If there's a second, I'll go ahead and read
Do I
it.
have a second on that?
I second that.
Okay. Now you want me to make a vote, or you want to read
No,
that
I'll
number
go ahead
in?
and read it again. Again, this is a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Miami Springs, Florida, establishing and adopting a tentative millage rate and levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2018-19 in the amount of 7.3575 mils, which is 6.15% higher than the rollback rate to balance the general fund for fiscal year 2018-19. Establishing the rollback rate of 6.9043 mils, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata,
Yes.
Councilman Best,
Nay.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. All right, now we got an ordinance, 11B, an ordinance.
No, Mayor, I'm sorry, forgive me. Now goes the resolution on the budget. If there's no further discussion on that, this is essentially where you lock in your budget, of your proposed budget for.
Okay, so I need a motion for the proposed budget.
Right, which is either as provided or with any of the amendments that were discussed. This
I
evening.
would like the motion to state as provided, and we can discuss after we get more information down the road with this golf cart situation. I would like that motion.
So motion to approve the budget as provided.
Second.
Through the chair, just for clarity, this is to say that the motion that I had made prior, that which didn't get any traction, could be brought up again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
In the
think
second
it,
meeting.
Thank you.
yeah, it could.
Thank you.
At the next meeting.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata,
Yes.
Councilman Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bain.
Yes. I think that for the next meeting, for all of us, to go ahead and give all the things, all the different things that we're putting into this budget outside of normal operations, like the police officer, the different things that we're putting in this budget that we propose, that we're doing for the city, so that we understand what we're spending, so that we don't get into a place where we're spending money where we don't understand what we're spending it on. You understand what I'm saying? Because I think we're forgetting that we went outside of different things to support different entities within the city. And I think that needs to be put out and showed to people and to us where we're at before we start paying for a book. All right. That's good? We're done with that?
Yes, sir.
I can move forward now?
Yes, sir.
We go to 11C, a resolution.
Mayor, you got 10A
10A.
under old business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, 10A. This is a report on actions taken regarding parking problems at the AIE Charter School.
Erica's bringing up a presentation.
Oh, good.
Getting the computer ready.
We have some people from here following up on us, watching us. You over here too? No. The Three Musketeers.
Take a little bit.
What's the score of the game, Bobby?
I don't know. I really don't.
No. The Jets are losing? Oh, it's too bad.
That's this. This is clearly fake news.
You wish.
Ay, Dios mío.
Almost there.
Did you call him?
I would.
Believe him. Better back me.
Should we play the Jeopardy?
Can we maybe go to?
There we go.
I knew if I said that it'd come up.
So I believe that you all received an email, some information that I provided the city manager on some of the issues. This was put together after that email because we looked at the different times when some of the issues were occurring. So we all know it's at 1080 LeBaron Drive. It's not advancing. No, I need to advance it. No. Okay, just hit it. So that's an aerial view. We have, obviously, East Drive over here on the east and LeBaron on the south. Next one. Just a quick overview of the school. It's kindergarten through 8th grade, about 600 students, 65 employees, 4 employees that are designated as security. And we have, and have had for the last couple of weeks since the beginning of the school, an off-duty officer paid for by the charter school for the morning from 7 to 10 and for the afternoon from 1 to 4. There's a before school care from 7 to 8. School starts at 8 a.m. and there's a dismissal at 3:05 and there's an after school care from 3:05 to 6 p. So we were out there during the mornings, which is the drop-off, and then we later responded in the afternoon to monitor the situation. Go back, I'm sorry. Back up, okay. The drop-off doesn't seem to be the bulk of the issues that some of the calls we were getting about, because drop-offs are staggered between 7 and the actual start of the school. So we have usually parents and drop-off occurs in this half-moon driveway on the south side of the school. Okay, they have the security officer or security personnel there to monitor that, and they have the off-duty officer to assist with that. Okay. Now, the pickup procedures is the one that we've noticed is creating a lot of the issues. There's like 3 different methods, and then at the end I'll give you some of the suggestions we made to the school. Again, that half-moon driveway at the south side of the school, you have about 16 cars that sit there and wait for the children to come out. One of the issues that we have, if you happen to be the 4th or 5th car waiting for your child, and he comes out faster than the person that's in the first car, you have to sit there and wait. So that causes some of the frustrations to some of the folks. Okay. Then the second portion, this parking lot on the west side of the school, you have vehicles that sit and wait there for children, and that only takes up about 15 vehicles. So the security personnel from the school direct the traffic entering from East Drive to that waiting section. Okay. The other method, and this is something we found interesting that we weren't aware of, the security personnel were telling some of the parents that you could park anywhere, basically, or on the swales, not just of the school, but in the residential area. But this method is where the parents park their vehicles in the parking spaces in front of the school, on the swale of the school property, and they walk over to actually pick up their children. Okay. This is the designated for the school buses on the school property, or I'm sorry, on the swale of the school, which is just west of that Half Moon driveway at the south side of the school. One of the things we found there wasn't a lot of signage designating this for the school buses. So a lot of confusion. Occasionally you have cars sitting there waiting to pick up the children. So drop-off times in the morning are staggered, so we do not have a lot of the issues in the morning. Actually, it's calmed down quite a bit since the beginning of the school. Okay. Here we have some of the pickup issues that we notice. They're not necessarily staggered. There's dismissal time at 3:05. The parents start lining up at 2:30. The rush goes from 2:45 to 3:15. The driveway is only one lane, and it's on a first come, first served basis. So it's not really efficient. A parent receives their child in the driveway. He or she has to wait until the vehicle in front of them pulls off. As I mentioned before, the designated bus area doesn't have enough signage for that designation. The waiting section on the east side of the school only holds about 15 cars, and once that's filled, the entrance, which is on East Drive, they start to line up there, and vehicles obstruct traffic. And as I mentioned also, the school personnel assigned to assist with traffic were actually advising parents park on the residential swales. So we have some of the complaints that we all are aware of: the obstruction of the traffic on East Drive, people using Minola Drive as a cut-through, which leads through a lot of the speeding complaints, the lack of school property, swale parking area, the complaints of people, parking on different swales in front of the residences, littering, ruining the grass. They don't know who's out there in front of their homes. Those are the complaints that we've been receiving, and you all are aware of. So here's some of the solutions that we suggested. We have the Half Moon driveway here. Okay, I'll put it over here, I'm sorry. And then we have this area designated as a wait area that only holds about 15 cars. So we suggested extending that all the way. Vehicles come in through East Drive and they start lining up. That will hold about 2 to 3 times more vehicles than previously was being allowed in there. Okay. Now, as far as the teachers that are leaving, they don't leave till after 3:30, so they're not going to be blocked in. Another thing for the parents that park and walk to the school gate to pick up their children, this parking area on the south side of the teacher parking, where the vehicles line up to wait to get into the driveway, wasn't being utilized for anything. So we suggested to the school to allow this for parents to park, go pick up their children at the gate, and come back to their cars. Okay. We're also going to suggest, or we're going to tell our police officer, another thing with the off-duty police officer we have to keep in mind, we don't know how long the school's going to keep that going. So they may tell us this is our last week, or they may tell us to continue that. So in the meantime, we're going to move our officer at the intersection of Mokina and LeBaron, and that's hopefully to deter people from parking on the swales of the residences and from obstructing the roadway. So we informed the school personnel of some of these suggestions. They were very pleased about that. They liked the ideas. They're going to implement it, but they're also going to do a notification campaign to the parents in the form of flyers and different ways of getting the message to the parents to hopefully alleviate some of the traffic situation. That's the analysis we did, and that's the suggestions we made to the school.
And they were accepted. They were.
I'm sorry.
They felt good about.
Oh yes.
Implementing.
Yeah, they were very pleased with the information that we provided to them. Yes. Okay. I think that was the last one. Okay. Actually, that's where they were very receptive to our recommendation. They will be implementing the changes when they give parents the proper notice, and we feel this is going to alleviate some of the issues that have been brought to our attention. We'll continue to monitor it the first few weeks after implementation. If we have to modify it based on what we see, then we'll come up with other suggestions for the school. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And the residents have been notified of.
No, we haven't done a notification as of yet, but I'll be glad to put it on our webpage, on the city's webpage. These are some of the recommendations that we're making to the school, and that the school has agreed to implement it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we go on to 11A. An ordinance, first reading.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 150 of the city's Code of Ordinances, modifying Section 150.070 CBD, Central Business District, revising permitted, prohibited, and conditional uses, updating Section 105.002 definitions, providing for implementation, providing for incorporation into the code, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Council, as Chris comes up, just as a preface, you may recall that we talked a little bit about CBD when we talked about the overlay district. As I mentioned then, I'll reiterate again. More often than not, you'll see codes that are either permissive and that they list the prohibited uses, and whatever's not prohibited is essentially permitted. You also, more often than not, see a restrictive code, which says these are the permitted uses, and whatever is not otherwise permitted or conditionally permitted is restricted. Our code is, with respect, a little screwy, because you have permitted uses, you have prohibited uses, you have no conditional uses, and then you have the area in the middle of uses that are in the ether. And so we mentioned that to you. There was interest on council of revising that, and before you have first draft that was prepared primarily by Chris on it, and I provided some backup on it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As the city attorney indicated, the biggest change here is getting rid of that list of prohibited uses. So now we're just going to have a list of permitted uses. If it's not on that list of permitted uses, it's understood to be prohibited. There's no more what we call the purgatory between permitted and prohibited, this gray area. That's going to clean up. That's a modern code, is just that your list of permitted uses is prohibited. The other big change is that we created a conditional use, and the conditional uses are kind of maybes. And a use when specifically listed as such within the use district regulation may be permitted with certain stipulated conditions that will serve to ensure said use will assimilate properly in the surrounding neighborhood without deleterious effects. So, for example, we put daycare in there, adult daycare, package stores, liquor stores. I could envision a situation where a daycare could be permitted in our central business district, but perhaps not next to a gas station. Things like that. Where the user may not be compatible, may not be the best location for that. And that's something that would come to the council as a council decision to approve that conditional use. That's not something that we do at a staff level.
Right.
However, there is a provision in the code that talked about uses that were similar in nature but not specifically listed. Just to give an easy example, let's say we had a code that said later CDs and now whatever the kids use, the modern. We would be able to determine. You would be able to determine that that was similar enough in nature to the listed use that it's permitted. But what we've suggested is on those easy ones like that should be a staff call that the city attorney and I would get together, take a look at it, and see if we felt that use that's not specifically listed but very near one of the permitted uses that's listed, that we could approve that administratively. We had a couple examples this year while we kicked it around and talked about it and thought about it and started to getting skeptical from council. They found something else outside of our city and they left. And I don't want to see that, and I don't think that you want to see that. We want to be busy. We want spaces occupied.
And just let me say one thing about the conditional uses. The conditional uses essentially are uses that are whether located against something else or just by their very nature may have some kind of impact to the neighborhood, which have to be mitigated. And that mitigation comes in the form of whatever all you determine within reason have to be addressed in order for that use to come into the community. So maybe have to provide some kind of screening process because it's going to abut single-family residential or something to that effect. I'll give you an example. Virginia Gardens actually has a restricted commercial category where it's all about mitigating because you have single-family homes that abut an office building or abut some other kind of commercial use. And that's essentially what the conditional use is meant to do, is bring it to you so that essentially any potential deleterious impacts on the community are mitigated by some of those conditions.
Now, when you say this administrative situation that you're going to make the decision, it will be addressed to the council to understand what you did.
We absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
so essentially,
I mean, you're going to make the decision, and then after you make the decision, you're going to make the recommendation to us.
Well, no,
To-
Right.
I got it confused. We have two different things.
Right.
Conditional uses are those uses that we need to be really careful with. Packaged liquor stores, daycare centers.
Them are going to come up to us.
Those will come
They
to
go
you.
Okay.
council only. We have
All right.
no ability to make a determination.
All
of
right.
that. It's the similar in nature uses, the CD shop that's like the record album shop. Those are the kind of things that we think should be handled administratively because they're typically very simple.
But I think that council needs to be notified that you made that decision.
We certainly create.
Yeah.
We'll create a repository of what uses have been approved, but essentially, most planning and zoning departments have latitude to make those.
I'm not worried about the latitude.
No.
I
And
just
so-
need to be. We all need to be informed if something like that happens, so
Okay.
we can get phone calls or whatever the case may be that we don't know. It's like when
You
they
want to
used.
create a monthly report?
I have a question.
I think so. I think so. My opinion.
They happen rarely, but we just don't like to lose them.
If I may, Chris, I have a question. So why are we eliminating the recommendations by our planning and zoning board? Don't they make recommendations to us in cases like this so that we can consider them from their perspective of people that are qualified in terms of planning and zoning issues? We can make decisions, but we don't know what they know, and we have appointed some very qualified people to that board. Why are we eliminating them?
We can add those for the conditional uses, and we can have this read that conditional uses will go before a board. What essentially, Chris, there's two separate things: the conditional uses, which are pretty specific in nature, and we're saying, I don't want to say that they're uses that are not desired, but we'll call them less desirable.
Controversial.
Right, less desirable, and you cannot ban them completely in your city.
Right.
And so, what we're saying for those conditional use process, if you want that conditional use process to include going to a board, absolutely. The other ones, the similar in nature ones, with respect, we're trying to actually eliminate some of the red tape by allowing Chris to exercise his prudence and say this is close enough in nature to one of the ones listed that here's approval for a certificate of use.
I understand.
But absolutely, for second reading, we can bring that back to say that conditional uses will go through the planning and zoning board.
Yeah, I was only asking because it was scratched out on the.
But that's only for the similar in nature.
Oh, okay.
That's just something.
Okay.
Because if we have to send it to the planning and zoning board, get a recommendation from them.
No, I get it.
Right.
They would bring it to city
Okay.
council,
But we-
then you make a.
For the conditional uses,
Yeah. That's 50-50. Some places send it directly to council, other places get the advisory advice of their planning and zoning board. Yeah, but for someone who's looking for a use or rent a space, that would mean that a landlord has to take that space off the market while
Right.
an applicant goes through a 2 or 3 month process. Typically, landlords aren't going to do that. They're going
Right.
to sign the lease or not. So that's something we think
Right.
we want to handle that fairly quickly on an administrative basis.
Gotcha.
And then the only other thing, you see a lot of uses that are crossed out, like they're no longer allowed. Accounting and bookkeeping offices, agencies for employment, automobile rental, office use only. We took those out because we don't need to list those specifically because we have a category called office use. And all those uses are office uses, so we don't need to try to have the
Okay.
breadth and depth of every use, every office use that there is. Office use is gonna cover it.
So you have them scratched out, not because those specifically are not allowed, but because it's.
They've moved
Okay.
into the general category of
Okay,
office use.
because I was.
Likewise, retail. We got a lot of retail uses that we didn't just think
Right.
of as retail, bookstore and this store and the clothing store and.
Gotcha.
Took
Okay.
a lot of there.
Right.
Simplified it, boom. I can't think think of anything else?
The item about sporting goods stores, was that on there before, or is that something new?
That I left alone. That, I didn't want to.
Okay, because it says sporting goods stores including the sale of weapons and related products for sporting and hunting activities.
That's in our existing code.
That's existing.
The fact that
And
if
would you
it's
want to
not-
leave it there?
it's
I
o-
don't, but
I
thought you
really,
might.
no, but no. I have a bit of an issue with that, just my opinion.
Again, if it's underlined, it's new. If it's struck through, we're asking to be deleted.
No, it's not
If-
underlined, it's just
if
there.
If it doesn't have either,
It's just,
existing.
it was there.
In my initial approach, it was removed, and then I got a little cold feet about it. I didn't know how you all felt about that, so.
I'm not against hunting or anything like that, or weapons, actually, but, you know, we're such a small little community, we don't need to be selling weapons there in the circle, it's my opinion, but I don't know how the rest of the council feels.
Personal opinion, so like.
Don't
So-
say your personal opinion.
I'm not against hunting or, you know, I have a concealed weapon. I mean, I believe people, whatever. My opinion is not against weapons per se, but I just think that in our community, I don't think that that's a fit. Just, that's it.
Can we make that a conditional that would come up, should it come up? And that way,
It's a perfect opportunity to use.
to use
Do you wanna change this a little bit, so instead of being a sporting goods store, I mean, look, Sports Authority went out of business, so the likelihood of a small sporting goods store coming into Miami Springs is unlikely. But would you like us to come back to you for second reading with a definition that includes the sale of any kind of weapons?
Well-
Because a gun, you know,
But, you know, we used to have, I don't think we have them anymore, but we used to have what I would consider the sporting goods store was like the fishing, reel, rod and reel, little stores here. No, but
Yeah,
that's what
but
I'm
that's
saying,
what I'm
that,
saying.
you know, and those are unique and those are great. So if we're talking about perhaps a bigger one, I don't know how we could make that conditional of allowing sporting goods stores and perhaps saying conditional if they're going to
I-
sell.
about
I
any-
think
how about
that's,
any-
I think the
Weapons,
issue
but-
is selling, the guns and everything,
Right,
that's the
that's
issue,
all.
not the sporting goods store.
Yeah.
Good, agreed, so perhaps
So-
for conditional use, we'll come up with a definition of.
gun
what-
sales, maybe, something like that?
Yes, and I would specify guns because I don't think we have, any of
Yeah.
us have a problem off, you know, if you have pocket knives and, you know,
So under
knives
permitted-
for hunting.
So under permitted uses, we could put sporting goods without the sale of guns and ammunition, and under the conditional use, sporting goods that include the sale
Yes.
of guns and ammunition. Then you could take a look at
Yeah,
that.
that would be better.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not against the sale of guns, okay, so, I mean, the
All we're saying is just that would be conditional, that it would.
yeah,
come
it'd be
before us.
conditional, but I'm not, you know, I'm
We're
not
not
gonna fight you
prohibiting it.
guys on
One of the
it.
reasons we didn't tackle it is because we
There's
thought
enough
that
guns in
the
Miami
city
Springs
said
that this is no big deal.
No, I agree, and it's just that it's the fact that we would be selling it right there in the middle of.
Another reason if you could control it too, though.
Well, I think the reason for having it conditional in my opinion, would be that then we would have the ability for it to be before council and the residents could come and talk one way or the other and provide their input.
their
So
position, yeah.
before, instead of automatically, yes, it's allowed.
That's the whole idea of these
Right,
Go ahead, that's conditional,
sensitive
go ahead.
or potentially sensitive issues.
Yeah,
right.
go ahead. Okay, is that it?
That is.
Is there any other comments on this? I thought you did a good job. Is there any other comments on this? So we need a vote for the first reading? Vote to approve as amended?
I had one other question. Going back to the medical marijuana dispensary, I know we had agreed with the minimum fee,
We're not
500
there yet,
feet from the schools, but had we also put something in there that there would be no more than one allowed?
We can't do that.
We can't do that?
No, that's not one of the, that, I mean,
Under
that,
the-
that,
the
that
legislature.
legislation, that enabling legislation for the constitutional amendment is being challenged in court right now. But the only limitation that we can do is you either permit them or don't permit them, and if you permit them, you can permit them anywhere where pharmacies are permitted, or you can put a 500-foot buffer from schools, from K through 8 schools. It doesn't even permit buffers from pre-K or daycares or anything higher.
High
So
school
the only
either,
way we
right?
could,
No, I'm sorry, high school is included.
You said pre-K through
I mean,
8th
K,
grade.
K through 12.
K through-
Sorry about that.
And by the way, that raises a point. There were a couple of uses in there, like package stores and laundromats, that limited to only one location. My suggestion is that we strike that language, because that gives an
I saw
operator a
that.
monopoly on that particular use, and they may not provide particularly good product or customer service, because they know they're not gonna have any competition. I'd like to see it be much more free market, that there's one here, somebody opens down the street,
they do a bang-up job, yeah. Will it force the other one out? Yes, but we end up with a better operating business that better serves our,
The only reason that came up like that is because people didn't, there was a position on council didn't want to see 5 laundromats in the downtown. I'm just telling you that, so the thought, you understand the thought, okay?
If we have one and the second one comes along, it's gonna be the battle of the fittest. It's gonna be very Darwinian, and the best new one is gonna win.
Like
Mayor,
our
may I
beauty
ask a
salon.
question?
Well, sure, you can.
Chris, could you just elaborate a little bit when you said that you were considering something that was conditional, and then the people that were, you know, interested in it moved to another location? What type of business was that, and what was the issue?
That was a tattoo parlor, and it was on the second floor also, which I thought really didn't have a whole lot of impact on the street itself. It was up on the second floor, which are tough to lease here. And, you know, I felt it was much more like a salon where they're doing piercings and all these new kind of things. That was, for me, that was close enough to that, to fit that category. But because the language of that, we went back and forth, the attorney and myself, and then by the time we said, well, it's got to go to council and they'll make the decision, when I called them, they had already found something else. So there's one other one that doesn't really stick in my mind. It wasn't as specific. This one was a very specific location, specific address. The other one was just sort of fishing. I'd like to do this. Can I? So.
Okay.
Chris, you've done a lot of work on this. This is,
yes.
Thank you.
Great,
This is
It
good.
needed cleaning up, yeah.
Okay, I need,
A lot of help from the city attorney as well.
he's getting paid for it.
So is he.
So is he.
No, but I mean, it's like as if he did it helping him on the side. He ain't helping nothing on the side. I need an emotion.
Through the chair, you have a motion as amended.
Second.
Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolano?
Yes.
Mayor Bay?
Yes. We go to B. 11B, another first reading of an ordinance.
Yeah. Mayor and Council, yes, you have an ordinance, the City of Miami Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 150 of the city's Code of Ordinances by updating Section 150.041 R1A District, updating and clarifying single-family residential property requirements, updating Section 105.002 definitions, providing for implementation, providing for incorporation of the code, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Council, again, another preface. As we've begun to, I guess, roll up our sleeves in piecemeal working on the code, Chris has maintained a laundry list of issues that continue to come up. I will tell you that in the past...
Nari, you want to speak to this one, right?
I don't know what to make of this, because in the past, some of these things, even though while they've been permitted, no one's actually come and tried to do them. And so I'm not quite sure if it's new residents coming in from other places where some of these things are permitted. But essentially what Chris has done is address some cleanup issues. For example, putting additional restrictions on accessory structures, talking about lot coverage so that you can't pave your entire backyard as is done in some municipalities.
Right, including here.
Yeah, I mean, then there's also been some feedback from building, because some of the provisions of the code didn't take into account construction, and so we've got some of these things where whether it has to do with a setback or the position of thing that essentially causes some very strange things to happen into a home, especially when that home is an existing home, not new construction. So what you have before you is the beginning of a cleanup. And then in talking to Chris, some of these things are directly applicable to some of the other residential districts, not multifamily, but well, I guess they are multifamily, but R1B, R1C, R1D. And Chris will run through them real quick right now for your consideration.
You want to talk now? Yeah. She signed up to talk.
But perhaps hearing the full-blown presentation.
I asked her if she wanted to talk now. She wants to talk now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I noticed that you took out a lot of things in this proposed ordinance. I don't understand, are you going to completely eliminate porticoches? And they are not allowed, or they will be allowed within the 30 feet of frontage? That's my question.
Thank you.
Do you want me to cover that first?
Sure. Well, it's fresh.
The reason I took it out is because it was just the language is confusing and it's completely unnecessary. Essentially what it's saying is you can have a porte cochere, but it has to be 30 feet back from the front property line. Well, that's already allowed.
Right.
So, and as a matter of fact, you could do that as a completely enclosed garage. So for me, to have things say, oh, the structure must be open on all three sides, why must a porte cochere 30 feet back from the property line be open on three sides, but you can have a three-car garage that's completely enclosed? It just, it doesn't make any sense. The structure shall never be permitted to be enclosed. Why not? Why not be able to take your porte cochere and turn it into a garage or additional living space? It's back behind the required setback for the house. I didn't see a need for it.
Right.
The structure is to be only utilized for vehicular traffic flow and parking. Well, again, why? Why can't it become a great room, a family room, or something? At one point you want the porte cochere, the next family does it.
Right. Just bear in mind, this is all activity that is happening behind the required front yard setback.
Understand.
So if you wanted
Not
to
changing
expand your home, you can expand your home behind the front yard setback, provided it meets all the other setback requirements. And so this was sort of putting all these restrictions on something that was already permitted,
there.
but it was just very, very duplicative.
It just made no sense, and I could go right down the line, but you get it. The only way this would make sense if you wanted to make an allowable setback encroachment where you could say, oh, well, it can be, of that 30 feet, you can bring the porte cochere up 15 feet. Okay, then it's very important
Right.
that it's open on three sides, that it's never enclosed, that it's not for working on vehicles or storing RVs. That all makes sense. We can explore that at some point if you like, but for right now, it befuddled the whole thing.
Can people come up for variance to move, like the situation in Hunting Lodge where the setbacks are so far back and they put the porte cochere, they put it up front and they got a variance to move within the,
I mean, certainly they can come forward with a variance. It's something that Chris and I have been talking about. There,
You know, it's
ju-
that
ju-
some of these
right,
lots-
just to refresh your recollection, in places like Royal Point Sienna, and on certain parts of Royal Point Sienna, and on Hunting Lodge, it's not a 30-yard setback, but it's the average of the two homes on either side.
right.
And so that has caused very large setbacks. People have tried to come forward, and then you have this encroachment on the established
Right.
by the homes. If somebody wanted to put something in the front, they could come forward with a variance.
That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, for me, I would just like to see us have a uniform minimum required setback of 30 feet, regardless of where your neighbors are, because as you get redevelopment over time, you're going to each start creeping up, and at some point
Right.
you're going to get to 30. We have one variance coming up for a front yard fence. That the fence is 30 foot back where the house typically could be, because their house is set back 175 feet from the front property line. They have a giant, useless, essentially, front yard.
Right.
Now, for me, they should be able to put the house at 30, which means they should be able to have the fence at 30.
Okay,
That's a
then-
very
And just the counter to that, and just for if all of a sudden, say on Hunting Lodge, you said, and this is Chris and I've had this. I mean, Chris and I agree. I would say like 95% of the time. You've got your neighbor. You have a 100-foot yard setback, and your neighbor's got 110, and the other neighbor's got 95 or something like that. And you can go to 30. That's a lot of home. If the person demos the home and builds the home, that's a lot of home that your neighbors are now going to have in front of their home. Whereas if you go by the variance process, organically you may have some encroachment, but it's going to happen probably a little bit more measured
Right.
than. So the idea is, I think, and this is something that Chris and I have talked about, that on some of these variances, and Jan had said it before, I'll say it again. You grant one of them, you have to grant them all because it's the hardship. And so maybe perhaps looking at these things a little bit differently and granting them not necessarily for hardship, but as a almost like a use variance that considers all these factors, as mitigation. But that's something we can look at down the road.
Okay.
It's a big change, the biggest change that we could have discussed, which is why we left it out and went towards the real part.
Yeah, the cleanup stuff.
Okay.
It's literally only probably a couple of dozen properties that it affects anyway, so I really wanted to address the things that
I got you.
pertain citywide.
Gotcha.
Okay,
All I needed was a yes or no.
the first thing that I wanted to show you is under A2 accessory structures, that it is essentially a 30-line run-on paragraph with nothing that sticks out. So all I did is under the new underlined A, B, C, D, and E, that is not new language, that's the language that's existing buried in those 30 lines of text. I just pulled them out for visibility. You want to know that? Just look at this.
Right.
You don't need to read 30 lines to figure that out. So that is not.
Right. Gotcha.
So that is not new language. That's the existing language. It's just that it's we have exemptions for undersized legal non-conforming lots. We have a lot of lots that were built as a full platted lot. And we put a provision in several years back that if you have one of those lots and it doesn't meet either the minimum lot width or the minimum lot size, but it was intended to be built upon, it was built as a full platted lot, not the 60 feet of that lot, but that lot, that you can still build on that lot, even if it doesn't meet the minimum requirements. And we have a lot of lots that don't meet that.
Yeah.
We have a sliding scale from 10,000 square feet down to 7,500 square foot minimum lot size, but the lot width remains 75 in all those categories, from our state zoning right down to our smallest zoning, the 50-foot lots. So I just wanted to cross-reference that so that people would pick up on that and not get discouraged and say, oh, well, I can't buy that lot, it's not going to accommodate our
Gotcha.
house. Okay. Continuation of legal non-conforming setback. You know that I often talk to you about if I see a number of variances and there's a pattern that this variance comes before you again and again and again, and it's always approved, well, let's change the code so that we can address it for everybody. And the two situations that we have are what we call a legal non-conforming setback. Let's say a house is supposed to have 10 feet, but it has 8 feet. If you want to do an addition in the backyard, still maintaining your rear setback, your front setback, all that doesn't change, but you would be allowed to continue that legal nonconformity back for an addition, and also vertically. So if you had the 8-foot setback and you wanted to put a second floor on there, you could do that as well.
And let me add that this is one of those items specifically that has been granted almost 100% of the time by variance, where we haven't told people, no, you have to have, this is your existing structure, and now you have to break it in for your addition and take it back. The Planning and Zoning Board and the City Council has, again, almost never denied. Right, neither in mine. Essentially, we say square your house off because it's existing.
Gotcha.
So
again, that would either be vertically for a second floor or horizontally
Gotcha.
to go back.
Gotcha.
That makes total sense.
and that the second part of that creates some funky construction issues.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right, your roof structure and all becomes quite complicated.
Right.
But that's the responsibility of the person that wants to do the addition.
Okay, we have.
Correct, but we're saying the city is creating architectural challenges in the way that if we went with the strictest interpretation of the code or make them go through a variance process, then you now have to have a roof that does this or things like that.
We're just trying to cut out the variance part of it because we're always agreeing with it.
Correct.
Yeah, if there's a pattern of them coming forward and a pattern of them being approved, let's change the code.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, we don't have a lot coverage requirement in our city. Almost all cities have a maximum lot coverage. That is the percentage of the lot that is covered by the main roofed residence. Not accessory structure, no, it's something different. This is the main structure. We don't have one. I get calls from perplexed architects regularly saying, well, what do you mean you don't have that? And I think that we should have it. 40% is the standard. 40% of the lot can be covered by a roofed structure. Now, we will also be creating a minimum pervious area, landscape area of 30%. People don't believe it when I tell them, but, and I just did a few drawings here. The yellow is concrete. That's what you can do in our city right now. 50% of your front yard, 100% of the side, 100% of the rear.
And that's the point that I made. I think there's, since Miami Springs was developed as a garden community, we've had this historical, I would say just communal ideology that we're not going to be doing that. And based on Chris's feedback over the last several years, I'm not sure where it's coming from. We've seen folks coming in with building permits saying, this is what I plan on doing. And you said, oh my goodness, you're essentially paving your entire backyard, which has not only issues for really more than anything else, water runoff, and it's a problem for a recharge.
It's also aesthetics too.
No, we have high flood areas here that are zoned that people pay a lot of money for their flood insurance. If you're going to cement your whole backyard and all that, that's going to affect that runoff.
And it sends it to your neighbors.
Of course.
Out to the city street. It's very disturbing to me to have to approve permits that I know fundamentally are very wrong, but there's nothing that I can do to stop that unless we do that.
And it is happening.
No, go on, Councilman.
No, it is happening because I just drove by a home. I'm not going to say the street, but I have questioned, and I was told that's because the existing ordinance, leaves it wide open. And I had to drive and drive back. I'm like, am I looking at what I'm seeing? Am I in Miami Springs? So I'm glad that that's being addressed.
It's really only through the goodwill of most of our residents that we don't have
No, I understand that.
But that's changed now.
Well,
Well, and if we, if we don't, we leave
It's in the-
ourselves open to it,
Well,
right?
it's in this change.
Correct.
We're voting on that.
It is.
Okay, all right.
Chris, how would this change affect, I see a lot of driveways now, which is a modern trend right now, is they have sections of pervious, you know, the break up the concrete, and then it's pervious in between the blocks, so there's gravel or grass
It
in
would really
between,
address
so
that.
how it,
We still calculate that because the slots are so small and they often are filled with artificial turf, which has no pervious ability at all.
Okay.
We still count that as a solid.
now what if they
driveway.
were to fill it with gravel? Would you still count it as?
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's so minor to be starting to
Okay.
get 2-inch
Okay,
troughs
but I
out of
think
there and
that,
subtract
that should probably be in there to clarify that, because if not, one could say, well, you know, I'm putting in smaller concrete blocks with a lot of pervious areas in between, with gravel or whatever.
Well, this ordinance does not address the locations and the size of the driveways and paving and all. You can still unfortunately put them to your side property line. That's gonna be in a second subsequent follow-up to this. The first thing I want to establish is, this is as big as your house can be. This is the minimum amount of green area that you can have on your property. And then next, we will be doing things like setbacks for swimming pools, which we don't have,
Right.
setbacks for driveways and slabs and things like that. And we'll definitely visit
Okay,
that
but
topic.
do you understand what I'm saying is to make sure that a homeowner doesn't feel that we should, the way it's written, that we should take into account the pervious area or green area, if I wanted to put real grass instead of fake grass. I know people put fake grass, but I could put real grass, that shouldn't be taken away from the amount of concrete that the
Frankly,
concrete.
We don't have a whole lot of them so far, but almost everyone that comes in, they just square it off and dimension it width times length. They don't even attempt to pull out 20 square feet. But to make it clear, absolutely.
This home that I'm talking about is the entire front yard with those blocks, and then the back cemented.
So maximum lot coverage of 40%, minimum pervious area of 30%, that's 70%. That is 30% of your yard that can be non-main structure, non-pervious. Slabs, patios, decks.
Sheds.
Swimming pools, sheds, gazebos, all those kind of things. That's that unsaid 30%.
Gotcha.
And that's
Gotcha.
you end up being able to cover 70% of your lot, you just have 30% green, and that's a pretty standard
That's
number
good.
in
That
the
is good.
industry. We didn't have a definition of lot coverage, so I created one. We didn't have a definition of pervious area, so we created one. Yeah, I think the other one was the additional 2.5 foot setback for a 2-story house, which is causing us a lot of problems. So my preference would be that we remove that, and the side yard setbacks are now 10% of the lot width, that they remain that for a 1-story or a 2-story house. Because the problem that we're having is if you have a 1-story house, and we see this fairly often, that people want to put a second floor on, the second floor has to be indented 2.5 feet from the wall of the first floor.
Right.
So then what you have
Ridiculous.
is inside the first floor, a series of columns, 2 1/2 feet marching down your wall to support the wall on the second floor.
Right.
Or an I-beam that would run from the front of the house to the back of the house, because it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And we have a couple of them that they actually did set it in, and you have this silly little 2.5 foot ledge that for me makes no sense. At 10%, I don't really see if you had a 10-foot setback that you've noticed 12.5 is somehow makes it less looming than 10.5. So I would very much like to get rid of that. That's a real problem for us.
Is that in this ordinance?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it
Okay,
is.
then you're gonna get rid of it.
Yes, and I think that's an important one, because you have people moving in, young couples, who want to take some of these older homes and put a second floor and do it nicely, architecturally, you know, designed nicely, and that limits them.
It's more expensive to build up than out, but a lot of these families, they want the big yard for the kids. and
Right.
the
Right.
dogs and the
Right.
pool,
Right.
And they'd rather go up and spend the money on that. This really prevents them from doing that.
These older homes simply, I mean, you can take an older home, reinforce it to around the perimeter of it. When you start requiring these structural components on the
That's-
inside, it becomes very, very difficult.
It doesn't look very good.
And it
No,
doesn't look
and-
very good at all.
Looks terrible.
Yeah.
Not very
Anything else?
practical.
I think, did I cover everything?
That's all. I think that's it.
That's great.
Any
Great.
other questions? Any other things? So I need a
Motion
proposed,
to
I need
move.
a motion on the, we don't have any changes in this one, right? 'Cause I need
Oh,
a,
I'm sorry, Mayor and Council, just one other thing. Essentially, this language is parroted, and is it R1B, R1C, and R1D?
Yeah, so this will be, we drafted it up as for the R1A, but this will go through.
For all four.
the R1C and R1D.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll read it.
All four single-family zoning districts will have all these changes.
Same, okay.
Great.
Okay, need a motion?
Motion to
Motion.
move.
Second.
A motion moves good enough?
Motion to move agenda item 11B.
We got a second here. Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Betts?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Yeah, just for the chair, Chris, nice job.
Thank you.
11C resolution.
Resolution, Mayor and the Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, awarding request for proposal 03 and to Saris and Inc., the top-ranked proposer, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and enter into an agreement with the top-ranked proposer or the next successfully ranked proposer if an agreement cannot be negotiated with the top proposer. Authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement and to expend budgeted funds on behalf of the city in furtherance hereof, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date. It's a recommendation by the city manager that council awards city RFP number 03-1718 to Saris Environmental Services, Inc., the most qualified responsible bidder, and authorize the execution of a 3-year agreement, attachment B, with the option to extend the contract for an additional 2 one-year terms for emergency disaster debris removal and emergency response services. The city advertised the request for proposal for emergency debris removal and emergency response services for 3 fiscal years ending September 30th, 2020, as well as for 2 option years for 2021 and 22 in the Miami Business Review, Attachment C. The city also placed a copy of the RFPs on the city's website and DemandStar Onvia. The requirements of the RFP included a minimum of 7 years' experience in debris management services based on FEMA guidelines and regulations. A proven record of successfully completed projects with similar size, scope, and complexity, with a minimum of 3 projects of similar size and complexity. In addition, a total of 20 debris management firms were emailed the opportunity to bid, see email attachment D. A mandatory pre-bid was not required. The city received 6 bids, attachment E, of which all firms were considered responsive. The selection committee was comprised of Leah Cates, Tom Nash, and Robert Quintero. The committee reviewed the RFP responses, evaluated, and rated the firms. Saris Environmental Services was rated the highest score on all 6 rate sheets with an overall score of 380 points, attachment F. Based on these results, the administration concurs with the recommendation of the committee and recommends awarding a contract to Saris Environmental Services, Inc. If awarded, Saris Environmental, Inc. Services will begin their contract upon execution and continue for a 3-year period with the option to extend the contract for 2 additional 1-year terms.
Mayor and Council, just keep in mind that FEMA requires, if you're wondering why we did an individual bid, FEMA requires that we do a competitive proposal. Last year with the hurricanes and things that were happening, we were allowed to piggyback. Some cities were piggybacking on Miami-Dade County's contract. There were exceptions made by FEMA, but essentially they wanted to see you competitively bid both debris removal, debris monitoring, have your sites approved ahead of time just to make sure that you can recover 100% of your expenditures when an emergency is declared, and that's this is a step in that process.
Motion?
Motion to approve item is read.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I have a few questions. I just noticed with the points, the total points, the first top 2 were substantially higher than any of the others that that bid. Do we have any prior experience with this company? With
Which
Cirrus?
one was that one?
With
I'm
Cirrus?
sorry, I don't have it. With Cirrus?
Have they worked for the city before?
They had done, many years ago, they had done some work for the city, yes.
And how about the other one, the second up Crowder Golf?
In one shape or form, I think Tom had mentioned that they had all done some work here within the city in one shape or form. So, I mean, as the committee, they all agreed that, you know, they were very satisfied with the results.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Call the vote.
Need a motion.
It's already made.
We did the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Mayor Zapata. Sorry.
Yes.
Councilman Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Yes.
Mayor Bay.
Yes. Resolution. Do we want to let the pool? We want to do the pool. Let Omar go home, or you want to just keep going here?
Well, we only got 2 more, Mayor. We'll
Do you think we'll be okay?
And Paul?
You all right, Omar?
Hanging in.
Aw.
Sorry,
Aw.
I tried. I tried.
Omar, you had a late night
11D.
last night.
11D.
You had a late night last night, right?
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the
My
City of
house.
Miami
You were
Springs,
next to my
Florida,
house.
approving the lease of the city's golf and country club golf cart fleet from Club Car LLC, approving a lease agreement with DLL Finance LLC for the city's golf and country club golf cart fleet, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date. This is a recommendation by the city manager that council award city bid number 05-1718 to Club Car LLC, the lowest, most responsive, most qualified, responsible bidder, and authorize the execution of a 5-year, 60-month lease agreement, attachment A, with a start date of October 1st, 2018, in the amount of $56,178 annually, or $280,890 for the 5-year, 60-month term. The city advertised a request for quotes, RFQ, for the golf cart fleet lease for Miami Springs Golf and Country Club for a lease term of 5 years ending September 30th, 2023 on the city's website and Demandstown Onvia. The requirements of the RFQ included the lease of 85 golf carts, 1 beverage cart, and 1 utility vehicle, 2018 model or newer. A total of 3 golf cart manufacturers were emailed the opportunity to bid. See email attachment B. A mandatory pre-bid was not required. The city received 3 quotes, attachment C, of which all the firms were considered responsive. And then you have a chart there where you see the different prices from the 3 manufacturers for gas, electric, lithium ion, beverage cart, and the utility cart. Based on the above, we recommend that Club Car LLC be awarded the 5-year, 60-month lease for the gas engine-powered cart option at a cost of $51.70 per cart, compared to our current rate of $54.75 per cart, with an additional fee of $287 for the utility and beverage cart, for a monthly total of $4,681.50, or a yearly total of $56,178, and a 5-year contract total of $280,890. Cost for gas for the current fleet averages $17,400 per year, making the total cost of the gas fleet option, carts and gas, $73,578. If we were to consider the lithium ion option, it's in addition to the $89.90 per cart, it would require approximately $30,000 in additional cost to cover the wiring of the new cart barn to provide electrical drops for each cart. The chart below shows the difference for the 2 options. Selecting the gas engine would be more than $137,820 less than the lithium option for the 5-year lease. If awarded, Club LLC will begin their contract upon execution and continue for a period of 5 years. Carts will be delivered on or before September 30th, 2018. I have Paul here to address any of your questions. It was, I'm basing my recommendation on his recommendation that we maintain the gas cart fleet.
Any discussion? A motion.
I'd like to hear, can we hear Paul first?
Well, based on the financials, the gas cart is not going to go for us right now. You're going to build a brand new cart farm, and we're going to bear that expense in this budget. And it depends on whether the council wants to go ahead and go with a battery cart, incur the additional cost of wiring the cart barn, plus additional cost of a higher price per cart.
Paul, in other golf courses in Miami-Dade County, in general, do they have are they going to the electric? Do they have the gas? What's the
Well,
trend right
Melrose
now?
International Lakes, for instance, their gas carts. Several people are talking gas carts. anybody in Broward or Dade County that has lithium neon. Other people have more private clubs, like the clubs I've been at before. We had nothing but battery cars, but that was, pretty much all that was available at that time. And now, gas has become so efficient because electronic fuel injections, they're virtually quiet, and they're small three-cycle engines. There's very little emission. You can stand next to it, you can't smell it.
But it only fires up when you push the accelerator. It's not running. It shuts off immediately. It fires up when you're moving, but when you're stopped, it doesn't run.
Right.
Not like a car.
It's the most economic, I thought.
Okay.
And I think that's what I looked at, as the most economical operation. We're actually reducing the expense of the cars.
Yeah, this year. Any
The
other?
lithium batteries, so you said in the private clubs where you were before, they had the...
Lead-plated batteries.
Right, so this lithium is kind of new technology for golf carts?
Brand new.
Brand new, yeah.
It's mainly in California right now. Their weather's totally different than ours. And I think that this product is so new, nobody really knows what it's going to react to for heat.
And I think that's an important consideration for us, because we're not talking about the traditional electric, we're talking about new technology, which, to me, state-of-the-art is great, except state-of-the-art means we don't know what to anticipate, what problems.
Some unknowns.
And I don't know that our city can bear the brunt of, surprises on something that's such a big expense.
And we're municipal golf course, we're not a private club. Where I came from in Dallas, it's a private club. We're 54 holes of golf, 5,000 members, but it's $50,000 $7,000 a month membership.
And the maintenance, should these be maintenance issues, in addition to, this is a very large sum, in addition, over the gas, should we encounter maintenance issues, those might be substantial, I imagine they will be, plus the loss of golf carts for use, which will also impact our revenue, so there's a whole bunch of factors here that could impact.
And the gas fleet's been very dependable. Very dependable. We've had virtually no problem with it at all. Mechanically,
Through the chair, Paul, when we had, what was it, Yamaha? I think they're the third bidder on here that came in on the RFP, but when we had Yamaha before, were there not some problems with a lot of carts being down and not being replaced in a timely fashion? I seem to recall.
well, we had problems getting parts with the Yamaha,
Mhm.
getting the service as well.
Mhm.
And 5 years ago when I got here, you had battery operated carts.
Right.
Out of 75 carts when I got here, you only have 12 running.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Thanks. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Yes. Now, how much do we spend in gas every year for the cars? 17,000. So, no, I heard it. I'm just recapping. Now, we're talking about 63,000. Out of those 63,000, we're looking at 30,000, and these are soft numbers because we didn't get a quote for rewiring the barn. So it's really not 30,000 because if we take away the 17,000 in gas, the number comes down substantially, correct?
Comes down 17,000.
Exactly. That's almost half, right? Or more than half. Or 15, 30, yes. So now, when we spend $30,000 to do the electrical on the barn, I don't look at that as we're spending money. We're upgrading our infrastructure in the city. Okay. I'm not for the lithium battery because, like you said, I agree with you. It's new, it's hot. Those things tend to blow up. But I'm thinking we should go back to regular battery cars because I think that's better for the environment. We have folks that live along the golf course who have kids. We don't know what the impact of all those little cars running around for 5 years, and now we're going to add another 5 years to it. We live next to an airport, and that's already environmentally not safe for us. We have cars running around the city. So if we can do something as small as going from a fleet of gas cars to electric cars, to me it makes sense. And it's not substantially. When you subtract the amount of money from the gas that you spend every year and you use it for the farm, for the electrical, upgrading our infrastructure, I think in 2 years it pays itself. Okay? So I don't see why this, I don't see why we should continue with gas. That's old thinking. That's old thinking. New thinking is battery. We got to do whatever we can do for the environment, for the folks that live around the golf course. Because I hear people say, well, they've been there for 5 years, nobody's complaining. Yeah, but we don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now. Is that pollution there going to affect these kids that are living along the golf course? These numbers are not very big. Not very big to go from gas to electric and do what the whole planet is doing. We're thinking of the environment here, folks. It's not only about money. It's not a lot of money. Now, if you're talking about the lithium batteries, cars, we're talking about, you can probably get two. You can get one from, or what is it? They're double the money. I give it to you. The technology new. We don't know what these things are these batteries might blow up in the middle of a golf. I hear you. But regular battery cards, that's the way we should be going, not just looking at the numbers. And the numbers are not that big, folks. The numbers are not that big. So I have to say, I will not be voting yes on this. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Could I ask again? Paul, could you tell us when you had in the past, when you had the traditional electric, and you said they were the lead batteries, I'm guessing that's what's on the market now, if we just go right now for the electric, not the lithium, how did those compare as far as maintenance, reliability?
More maintenance. They're more maintenance. You have to manually water the batteries as well, and then you replace them every 2 years, provided all the cells in the battery stay good. You have some where you have batteries where they're failed, just in matter. And then you got to dispose of the batteries as well.
But there's maintenance also on the gas cards, also. So a little less, but substantial. Anything substantial between the two as far as maintenance issues, or?
On the fleet that we have now that's gas, we replace the gas filter and the air filter on an annual basis. That's it. And we virtually don't have any problems with those cards.
The 30,000, we wouldn't have to spend the 30,000 to convert the barn if we go to the electric?
You do have
or
to.
we do still?
You still.
It's not just for the lithium, it's for the regular, okay.
You're saving 17 on the gas, because you don't have to buy gas anymore.
So what would be the total?
That's true. But you don't have to buy gas. I think
You got to buy electricity.
Yeah, but not gas.
But, okay.
So how much are we talking total between the two?
3,000 this year. That's why I requested a 63 earlier. But you have to replace the batteries 2 years from now, unless technology 2 years from now gets to a point where we don't have to replace them anymore.
Which is doubtful.
Well,
Okay.
It could be, it could not be. I don't know.
I need a motion for.
Motion to approve 11D as read.
Do I have a second?
You got a second?
Any further discussion? Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Best?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
No.
Mayor Bain?
Yes.
Just for through the chair for discussion on this issue, Councilman Petrolanda, I certainly, and I have all the time I've been sitting up here with you, appreciated your passion for this change. I don't think the timing is quite right. And the other thing that kind of jumps off the chart at me here is the fact that Paul is responsible for putting carts out there that are reliable. And that just tears me up for him to say when he first came here there was 12 out of 75 carts that were operational. That's a concern.
I don't think that was
the battery carts.
Well, no, right, but it wasn't because of the carts. It was because the way the golf was being run.
Your concern here seems to be more broad brush and honorable, by the way.
Thank you.
But obviously Paul is looking at it as an operator of the course and what's the best for the golfer, and at the end of the day, what's probably the best for the city from his vantage point right now. That's why I had to go with that. Just wanted to explain.
And we should have been looking at it from
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But what's put in front of us right now, I think we did the right thing.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor.
If I could add one thing also, if you put electric car out there, the charges got to go with it. Our police department, our public works department, our parks and rec department use our carts all the time. For the gas cart, they simply tow them and they can take them. They don't need to take chargers. It's not us disconnecting chargers to go with the car.
Let's agree to disagree. We're just taking the easy way out, sir.
I don't disagree.
I'm going to take I'm on a 5-minute recess. We're gonna go ahead and push up the pool.
Okay.
Okay, because we're
Sure.
gonna get to E and we're gonna talk about the center. Let's let Omar get out of here, go see his children, all 7 of them.
Children.
Okay, we're moving to 11F.
11F. This, let me read into the record this memo from Omar Luna, Recreation Director. The Recreation Department would like to recommend that we beta test the following during the winter months. Since opening the Aquatic Center in the summer of 2016, we have noticed a steady decline in our rentals for cabanas and umbrellas during the winter months of October through February. Attached as Exhibit A, you'll see our numbers of cabana and umbrella rentals for fiscal year 17-18. The attachment shows evidence that from October until the end of February, there is a steady decline in rentals of both cabanas and umbrellas. Our recommendation is the following. Number 1, time frame from October 1st, 2018 through February 28th, 2019. This will be considered a beta test pilot program until March 2019. At that particular time, we will revisit the situation and provide an analysis on whether the program was successful or not. If it works, then we can make a recommendation to firmly add it to the fee schedule resolution for pool fees. Cabana rentals, current resident is $100, pool member $80, non-resident is $150, and non-resident pool members $120. The proposed for resident is $60, non-resident $100, pool members $40, and non-resident pool members $80. As far as the umbrella rentals, current fee is $25 for residents and $50 for non-residents. He's proposing lowering the resident rate to $15 and the non-resident to $25. These are all 4-hour increments. We currently have a charge if you want additional hours. In the winter months, the sun goes down very early, so we'll probably never need to charge our patrons for an additional hour. However, I would recommend just going with $15 an hour across the board.
And this is because you get no rentals, at least maybe you might attract somebody to come in and rent them at this price. Is that your thought?
More or less, yes.
Okay.
We're hoping that we can find a way to attract more people to the pool so that they know it is heated and that, there's still, I think our biggest issue is just people tend to forget that we are in South Florida. We could have extended summers. And also people go to the pool and even though it's heated, they're more worried about when they get out when it's kind of chilly.
Right.
So we've asked, we polled our people who use the pool and stuff like that, our patrons, and ask them, what's the thing. But they just say that once October kind of hits, they're just afraid to get in the water.
Right.
Bottom line is what it is.
This is just to try to attract them into
Correct.
Yeah. Any discussion on this?
No, I think it's a sensible procedure.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
You have one, sir.
Got a second.
I have a vote. Call a vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Bez?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Mhm.
Mayor Bain?
Yes, I should have called you up earlier in the meeting. I apologize.
Well, thank you guys.
Take care.
Thank you, Omar.
Well, Mayor, you did say you wanted to.
No, I should have called him up a lot earlier. 11E.
11E, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, providing for the 4th budget amendment to the current fiscal year 2017-18 budget by reappropriating reserved fund balances to fund design costs of the new senior center and tree trimming costs citywide, to record lease proceeds and purchase of a new recreation bus, and to record costs of renovations to the boat ramp and the grant funding for these renovations, increasing the general fund budget to provide for these costs, and income providing for intent, specifying compliance with budgetary processes and procedures, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date. These are 4 items that Council has previously approved, and we're just doing a housekeeping measure to amend the budget.
Gotcha.
Motion to approve 11E.
Second it.
Call the vote.
Vice Mayor Zapata?
Yes.
Councilman Bez?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mitchell?
Yes.
Councilman Petrolanda?
Yes.
Mayor Bain?
Yes. Anything from the city attorney tonight?
No, Mayor.
Anything from the city manager?
No, Mayor, just we thought we would have the new sponsorship flyer ready for today with the package that we're preparing, but it looks like we'll put it off to the 24th meeting.
Okay.
So that we can bring you a whole package and we can discuss different ideas.
Okay. We have anything from Councilman Petrolanga tonight?
I do. I apologize, Vice Mayor and Councilwoman Zapata. I'm sorry, Mitchell. I'm going to give you a little history. And I know neither one of you two were up here. Actually, not even Councilman Bob Best was up here when we took this agenda item up. But years ago, the reason we went to these tablets was because we were saving money on these hard copies that you're all requesting. So I'm not sure if we want to go back to those or we want to keep these, but I don't think we should be asking the city clerk to make copies for us when we voted on these, so we don't have to make those hard copies. So I just wanted to bring that up because I'm noticing that you're asking them for hard copies, and it's not your fault. You didn't know about these things, and I just wanted to bring it up to you two ladies, so you can think about it. But
well, it's not my turn, but I'll weigh in on this if you don't mind, Mayor.
Let him finish.
All right. Okay.
Oh, I'm done.
You're done?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say.
You have the floor next.
Oh, I didn't.
It's your turn.
They can go first. I don't
know. No, go ahead. Get him, and then
well,
take your turn.
What the councilwomen have, I prefer, but I'm okay. I mean, I learned how to use this.
But then we vote on it.
Yeah, no, it's easier on your eyes too to read the hard copies versus us.
You can make these bigger.
Yeah, well,
that's one of the reasons when we did it was we knew that the mayor was getting older, so we went with it. It was really difficult to get him to agree to this.
Well, I don't know it had anything to do with that, but
well, it was. You weren't here that.
No, I know.
For the mayor.
Yeah.
So
that's
the reason we did it, because the mayor was getting up there in these.
Yeah, I just have one other thing. Orange bikes. I know there are 2 orange bikes still in Miami Springs.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to call you today, and I got hung up on something. I said I'll just mention it to him tonight. One is on Lafayette. Lafayette, about maybe a quarter of a mile in from Ludlam, going east. And the other one is on Ludlam, right after Falcon. Cheeky Hut, by the Cheeky Hut there on Falcon. There's one there. And I don't know if the company's aware of this, or they just forgot them, or they just showed up out of nowhere and they're there now. But I noticed them today, William. Just so
Let
you're
them
aware.
know.
And I was impressed with Chris tonight. I got to say that. I mean, that is really, as I said at the time, that's something that we've been really trying to get done here for a while, cleaning a lot of that stuff up with 150. And so he did a bang-up job. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilwoman Mitchell.
I just want to hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend, and this part of the year, again, we're in the hurricane season. There's several out there, so I just want to remind everyone, the city employees, the council, and the residents to be alert, and don't think just because we're into mid-September. Actually, this is the midpoint, and there's just as many storms from now through the end of September and early October than there are before this. The other thing I wanted to mention, Councilman Petrolanda, and thank you for doing this, and this is great. I actually make notes on each of mine, and that's why I keep them, and I file them, and I make,
on this.
No, but I make notes on each one so I'm very much for sustainability, but I believe that sustainability is not a catch-all for everyone, and and similar with the golf carts, we have to temper things with the value, the reliability, and all these other issues, and make those choices. Sustainability is one of several factors that we need to consider in all of our actions. But
then we need to have another agenda item and see if we want to give up these tablets, because that was a reason to cut down on the cost. I hear what you're saying. Maybe we should bring it up again and maybe give up all the tablets, save the money, and then just go back to the old ways.
And
seems
what
like
would
that's
they do
a trend up here. Is
what
going
would they
back
do
to
with
the
the
old ways,
tablets that?
Put them in a landfill.
I mean, it's not. I don't know.
Come on, you guys. Let's
know
come on. Whatever you need to do to function up here,
Yes.
to be a council person, you should be allowed to do. But number 2, I'll just say this: whatever seems to be the cause of whomever the cause is, that's your cause. So I kind of get a kick out of both of you. Each one of you have your own cause, and now he's fighting one cause, you're fighting another. I mean, come on.
I don't think
please.
we're fighting. I think
you had to make an explanation for really no reason. Just he has his opinion, and that's all he's saying. But anyway, are you have
Okay,
any more?
wait,
Do you have any more?
No, Mayor, I just wanted to
I mean,
thank
come
him
on.
for explaining the
Oh,
purpose of this.
Yeah, but that's you're
but-
being
That's why
you're
we got
being
'em.
you're being a little bit. Anything else? You have anything else?
I don't remember anything else now.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Anything from you?
No, I just want to notify the city that I'll be out of town starting this coming Saturday for a week, and I fly back Sunday night. I'll be here for the next meeting.
Can I make a recommendation to you?
Yes.
I wouldn't announce that to the public that you're going.
I don't
out of
live by
town.
myself. There's people there in the house.
I'm just saying. I
And a
would recommend you
vicious-
just tell us
two vicious
internally,
dogs.
then tell everybody that you're not going to be home.
I
That's
won't
my
be
opinion.
available to the residents. I will be. My phone won't even work where I'm going, so that's why I feel it's important. I won't have any internet either.
We
so
can
I don't want
find
people
you.
thinking
We
that
have
I'm not
ways to find
responding
you.
to them. That is why I'm announcing it.
Okay.
My home will not be alone. There will be people there and two vicious dogs.
All right. I'm just looking out for your safety.
Aren't you going to tell us where you're going?
I'm going to Alaska on a cruise.
Nice. Very nice.
I hope a hurricane doesn't come while you're gone. We might need you. We go to. It's my turn now. Okay, I got the numbers for the earlier that were to call about that school board money.
Yeah.
I got it here. Did you all get them? It's one of them is Jose Olivo, and is Manny Diaz.
Oh.
Them are the two that you could call that are on that board. So I'd like the clerk to post that on the website and explain what that's for.
I don't know if you saw the article that came out over the weekend, but
Was it in the Gazette?
No, no.
I don't read anything else. But
The legislature already said that they're not going to release.
Well,
that
we
money.
could put pressure on them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't give up.
No.
And then the other thing was the Blessed Trinity Carnival's coming up, and I got the numbers here for anybody. He was asking for.
What were the dates, bro? On that?
I don't go to that church. You should know.
I'm thinking the 18th.
I don't know. I remember now. But anyway, it's coming up, and he was asking for help from the
November.
city. And all you know that if you want to donate or help sponsor the carnival, he's open to that. Bobby can give you the contacts to go ahead and see what's going on there.
I'll provide that to the clerk.
Okay, and then, so that people understand what we're doing for them, we're allowing them to use our parking lot. We're not going to give them anything monetarily unless people want to make a motion to do that. But we are helping them out with logistics and different things that we're doing.
And I'm sure they appreciate that, Mayor.
And I think that the job that that our city attorney is doing with the codes with Chris, it's something that, just to be nice, this was hard to push. When you get old, sometimes it's hard to make you change, and I think that having a fresh face there has allowed it to come to fruition finally, because this isn't something that wasn't talked about my whole terms that I've been up here, and it's nice to see you take the initiative with Chris to do it, and and you still get a standard billing, so it's not like we have to pay you overtime. I want to say that I think we're making progress up here with what's going on here.
I think so.
I think that sometimes, I mean this sincerely, I notice that when some of us up here have to have the tolerance of the other person's thoughts of what they think is good, and not just have tunnel vision on their own thoughts. And I think sometimes we get stuck on that. But other than that, it's nice serving with you, at least tonight. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you. By the way, all this.